Welcome, welcome. Hello,
Welcome.
hello, everyone. It's always fun to see people pop into the chat where people are dialing in for. We've got already a diverse crowd. We've got some folks in the Philippines and some folks in North Carolina in the US. So it's always energizing to Marie and me to welcome so many people from all over. My name is Blair Ciesil,
I'm
and
Marie.
apparently together today is Animal Print Day because we both seem to have gotten that memo. But together, Marie and I co-lead our global talent attraction teams for McKinsey. So we have the huge privilege and joy of welcoming people to get to know our firm. And we actually launched this series called McKinsey Unpacked as a way to really give people an insider's look into our firm. We've both spent, after 20 years each of our career, we've spoken to thousands of candidates, and we get so many questions that say, okay, we've seen your website, we've gone to your presentations, but what are you really like? And so this series was really designed to unpack the real McKinsey. And we thought the name would be appropriate. We do know that consulting generally as an industry travels quite a bit to be with each other, to be with our clients. And so we thought the idea of unpacking a McKinsey person's suitcase to find out what's really inside would be a great theme for us. So this is our 5th episode, Marie, which is pretty exciting. They haven't yanked
Amazing.
the cord on us yet, which is great. And we're excited you're all here today.
Yeah, and because it's McKinsey, we have three different parts of our
Of
episode. I
course.
think at some point, Blair, we need to stop explaining a bit about the podcast and the different things. I think at some point, hopefully, we have a few repeat listeners that have heard this before. But we to unpack that McKinsey suitcase, we have first the map where we're actually heading today, where we talk a bit about what's on our mind. Then, well, the main part of our session, we unpack the suitcase and we deep dive into a specific topic. And today we will talk more about communities and what roles they have played in our lives and how we're thinking about communities in the McKinsey context. And then there wouldn't be a good travel without a decent snack. I have 3 small kids. I would never dare leaving the house on any trip
No,
without snacks. So we will leave
heavens
you
no.
at the end with a snack for the road where we give you a tip, an idea, or something that we want to leave you with that is hopefully helpful. So let's get started right away without
Right.
further ado. What's on today's map, Blair, for you? Where are we heading today?
Oh, what's so many things on the mind today. It's early morning in the US right now. So I feel like I'm
Get your
just starting
coffee.
to exactly coffee. Coffee is on my mind. That's in my cup. Um, I think Marie, this time of year, we spent our last episode. If you haven't seen it, you can go watch the recording. It was a great conversation with a friend of ours, Nora Gardner, talking about feedback and reviews. And that's a question we often get lots of candidate inquiry about around. I hear this McKinsey feedback culture. It sounds scary. There's a performance expectation. What does that actually mean? And we talked a lot with Nora about how feedback is really a gift to us, that it helps all of us excel at what we do. And this is for our internal roles, actually in our consulting roles as well. This is a big time of year where we have annual performance reviews. And we really pause collectively as a firm and dedicate hours and hours to having really thoughtful conversations about how our people are doing, where we can help them grow, what we want to do for next, take their roles forward. And it's just such a humbling time of year that first of all, the fact that we really pause and celebrate how exceptional people are here and how different they are. I think that's one of the things that excites me the most is, we have all sorts of different people who are very successful here, but they have very different skill sets and leadership styles. And I think that's part of what makes our firm a really special place is we are very much not. It's been, Marie, I'm a little tired because it is a huge investment in time to do this caring act of feedback and reviews for our people, but it is just so energizing, again, to reflect on how it all makes us better, which I'm really grateful for.
Yeah, and I always find the fun now starts when you have actually the conversations,
Yes.
because the
Yes.
calibration and the reviews and collecting the feedback is one thing, but then now actually sitting down with the person and helping them
Yeah.
grow and helping them shape their trajectory as they go forward and make plans for the coming months and the next year is always what gives me the most energy.
Right. And also to get credit for all of the important things we wrote
Yeah,
about these fabulous people. That's right. That's
yeah.
right.
Talking about energy, I'm also fully energized because we actually got to spend some time together
We
last week in
did.
Amsterdam. I'm based in
We did.
Amsterdam, so we welcomed part of our global team here in Amsterdam, and it's just nothing beats in-person time together
I
and being
agree.
able to connect in person and problem solve in person, which was really fun. And then I joined a connectivity event in Milan on Thursday, Friday. So I had a lot of in-person time with friends and colleagues last week, which has been great.
Always makes a difference.
Let's dive straight into the most exciting part of today's session, which is
our guest
with Jon
star.
Canto, our guest star. Drum roll. Let's bring Jon to our virtual stage. Jon is a partner colleague based in our Manila office, and he has been with McKinsey for almost 10 years. And a fun fact, which we figured out a few weeks back, is that he went to business school with my husband. It was in the same MBA class at INSEAD. So that was a fun fact that we just figured out.
Jon, you'll have to give us all the insider dirt on Marie's husband.
That's
maybe not for this session, but maybe another time.
A following one, maybe, who knows? When we talk about alums, because he used to be at McKinsey, now he's an alum. Maybe we should make a session about our alumni network.
That's right.
But Jon is a big fan of talent attraction, and he definitely shares our passion to make McKinsey a more diverse place that represents the societies that we operate in, which is super important to all three of us. And he's the office managing partner for our Manila location. So we thought there's no better person than an office manager to talk about communities, how we think about our own communities within McKinsey, but also how we as a firm are making a difference in the communities that we operate in. So huge welcome to you, Jon. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Blair. Thanks, Marie. I'm excited to be here as well. And I think this is a great idea. I wish we had this when I was considering joining the firm 10 years ago.
Okay. Well, then you can be part of building the next generation of talent, right? Pay it forward, which is wonderful. Well, Jon, we always like to start out with really easy, short questions, but tell us all about yourself. Tell us your life story. Okay, you don't have to tell us your full life story, but tell us a little bit about what led you to consulting, Jon, what brought you to McKinsey, and frankly, what your path has been like since you've been at the firm over the last 10 years.
Thanks, Blair. So I was born and raised in Manila. After school, I spent quite a bit of time overseas, both working and studying. And about 10 years ago, decided to join. By background, I took a technical course in university. I took physics and engineering. And I heard about McKinsey through school, actually. So I joined as an experienced hire, right, way back when. And there was really not a lot of opportunity to understand what the firm is about if you didn't have any contacts, right, that worked there. And I think through school, it was much easier through my MBA. Yeah. But look, I'm quite excited about what I do now, and I'll talk a little bit about it in soon, which is leading the Manila location, which has its opportunities, challenges like anything, but it's an exciting role and an exciting time at the firm. So I as you say, I'm quite passionate about recruiting and talent, and both developing the talent and also finding and cultivating that talent. So yep. I think this is the perfect way to have that conversation, Blair and Marie.
I'm so glad. And it is a great point that people forget. I think many folks, another myth that we hear is, oh, we only hire people from university, right? Either MBA programs, professional programs, or undergrad. But half of the people that we hire into all of our roles are, as Jon said, experienced professionals, meaning out in the working world in some sort of role. So I love that, Jon. I think that's true. We probably do a better job reaching our campus audiences. So hopefully this session today hopefully some of you out there are out in the working world, and this will be a helpful way. As Jon said, he wishes he had it 10 years ago. So fantastic.
And before we dive into your role as office manager, Jon, what industries do you serve as a client-serving partner?
So that's let's say not a straightforward question. So my background, I mean, I let's say I have the most experience even pre-McKinsey to energy topics, infrastructure as well, oil and gas and power. But here, again, in the nature of the business, you serve clients, you don't serve companies, right? So a client may be, have assets in multiple industries. So I end up working across a lot of them, obviously with different levels of expertise. But really, it's about serving individuals and serving and making people successful, right? So that's I can count I can't even count on both hands the number of industries I work in. But the core is really you could say energy and infrastructure.
Okay. And I mean, it also shows that because you were talking about our experience hiring efforts, Blair, and a lot of people sometimes think that they then have to stay in their area of expertise.
Right.
And we do have people who join for a very specific reason and they continue to develop and deepen their expertise in that areas. And then we have others who come to McKinsey because they want to broaden it and they might want to get exposure to other parts. So this is a great example of that as well. But let's talk about your job as managing partner for the Manila office. And I'm also really excited to hear about this. You know, you don't have this every day that you get to interview one of our office managers.
I know.
And I know this is a very special week actually for you. I think if I've been informed correctly, it's this week that you're celebrating your 25th anniversary in the Manila office. And actually, you know, big shout out also to our recruiting colleagues in Manila. We have recruiters, but then also colleagues from our talent attraction operations team based in the Manila office for over 10 years already. So I know they're very—
Some of our favorite people and best servant leaders
Exactly.
in the firm that we get to work with are in Manila. So
Yeah,
we
they're
love that,
very
Jon.
excited about the festivities.
Yeah,
So
congratulations.
how did you become an office managing partner? What's your favorite part in the role? How are you celebrating the anniversary? And as you can tell, we like to fire multiple questions
We sure do.
at you
We
at
sure do.
once. You know, we know you are sharp and smart and you can handle it. So
I know, I indeed, I mean, let me start with the role, right? So, I mean, at McKinsey, you are asked, what I love about it is it's a rotational leadership role. So it's everybody, there are so many leaders, in fact, that every 3, 5, 6 years, you're asked to move around, and sometimes you are a location manager, sometimes you lead a practice, sometimes you need a function or an initiative. And you know, I'm truly privileged to be able to lead the office, right? And it came about not as part of a grand plan, but really it's opportunities when people move on to other things and people want to give opportunities to others. I was always quite clear that you know, my success at the firm was quite tied to the success of the Philippines, right? Because I did want to spend time here and ground myself in the country. And so I think it was quite fortunate that indeed I was asked to lead the office, and
when did you
it's a
take
lot
the
of
role, John? How
responsibility.
long have you been the office managing partner?
A couple of years now. A couple of years
Okay.
now. I think after COVID, which was also quite challenging, but you know, we are as you see, as you said, this is our 25th anniversary, and actually, when I was looking at it, it is the first client that we served in Manila was actually in the late 1950s, if
Oh,
you can
wow.
believe that. So, which was one of the largest clients at the firm 60 plus years ago. So there's a history to the Philippines, and yes, this is our 25th anniversary. It's not just this week, but we've had a year-long celebration of you know, alumni, of clients, of our impact, also having our colleagues visit the office, and it is quite special. Of course, again, a privilege, and we're looking very much forward to the next 25 years of what we can do in the Philippines and beyond.
I love that. I love your explanation, which I think is maybe surprising to people sometimes, that we have such a rotational leadership model, very much by design at McKinsey, right? We believe disruption is actually a good thing. And so we want both sort of personal disruption, the fact that you get tapped to take on new roles. I think we've all had those moments where you think, I'm not sure I'm ready for this. I'm a bit, you know, I don't know if this is the right fit, but you sort of answer the call and great things tend to happen. But then I think we believe in institutional disruption a bit as well, which is, you know, we want to make sure that we're always bringing fresh perspectives, new ideas. And so that's something many people, experienced professionals in particular, are often surprised by, that, gosh, things change a lot. I feel like last year so-and-so was leading this practice, and this year it's another person. And that's, again, by definition, which I love that you highlighted that, Jon. It's a great reminder that, you know, it's sometimes not for everybody in terms of, you know, the unknowns you have ahead of your career, but we tend to think that's a really exciting thing. I'd love to pivot to the community part of it. I love where you started, Jon, that your commitment began with the Philippines, that you wanted to commit to that. As an office managing partner, in Manila, how do you think about community? What does that mean to you? How do you try and create that sense of it within your office? And then frankly, within your corner of the firm more broadly?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Blair. So I mean, as an office manager, there's certain responsibilities, right? I think one, of course, is on clients. So who we serve, who we don't serve, equally as important, and how we serve the clients. Number two, of course, is to our people and our community in terms of making sure they develop, they get feedback, they're apprenticed, and we hold up our end of the dual mission. And then thirdly, our impact on society as a whole, right? And our reputation. And a lot of times, again, we are privileged that we have access and we have the trust implicitly of a lot of institutions and individuals, not because we are, I deserve it, but because of the history of the firm, right? And what it has brought, the impact it's brought to the country. So shifting now to the people aspect of that, I think there's I heard very recently from one of my mentors of the firm that there is no firm in and of itself, right? Individual colleagues make up the firm, and how we act toward each other
So
really
true.
defines our
It
culture.
is so true.
And in Manila, I mean, for better or worse, it's a relatively small office in the grand scheme of McKinsey. And so we are privileged to have a group of people that really care about each other, right? And I think at anywhere else, you get as much out of the firm as you put in.
Yeah.
And we've been fortunate enough to have enough passionate, selfless people that want to spend time, want to serve, and want to do the right thing. And so for us, we have the consulting office, and then we have a much larger capability center in Manila, which is equally as fantastic and has a long history as well of building capabilities to serve our locations and our clients, right? So I'm quite proud of the office, and I think our culture and our sense of community is one of the strong points that I would like to highlight.
I agree. Having friends, longtime friends in Manila who we've worked with, I can second that. It's amazing to me. We certainly are not anywhere near the same time zone, but it's amazing at the relationships that we've developed with some folks. So I would agree that there's a community spirit in Manila that's really special.
And do you have some examples, John, how you, as the office manager, foster and create a community that is inclusive and open to the diversity of colleagues that we have?
No, absolutely. So there's ways that we do it formally and informally. I think every year, as the both of you know, we have what we call a day of service, which is when the firm overall invests in time to support outside communities and typically nonprofit or socially oriented organizations, right? As a matter of organization. I think beyond that, people have raised their hands and said, "Look, I want to volunteer for causes that I'm invested in," and that could be pro bono consulting work to mentoring, the youth in that particular area, and what have you. And then I think as a firm, we have also said, as an office, we have also said, look, there are certain initiatives which are socially important that we want to lean forward in, right? And for example, in the middle office, historically, that's been when the country has been hit with natural disasters. What do we do, right? During the time of COVID, when everybody was trying to figure out what happened, McKinsey was actually the first call the public and private sector made, right? We need your help to safeguard our health and also reopen the economy, right? And now we're talking about how do we grow the country in an inclusive way, based on what we've learned and all our expertise around future of work and education and what it takes to build the right outcomes. And I'm quite, again, proud to say that we have done the right thing in a lot of these places, and we involve as much of the community as possible in these areas, because we want to get, these are all stakeholders, right? We want to get their inputs in terms of what we should do, and are we doing the right thing? Where could we spend more time on? And it really is a inclusive environment in the way that we run it today.
I love that. And I think you're reflecting, it sounds like it's sort of a hyper focus for Manila, but I would say it's true for our entire firm, is we think a lot about diversity. And it's hard because diversity has almost become a word that is a buzzword, when actually for us, it's both a core value, but also we know, an enabler for us to actually have real impact, both among our clients and within our own firm. We know, our own research tells us, that bringing different kinds of people together produces better answers and better outcomes. And so part of that, I think, John, and you highlighted Manila, you have lots of different kinds of profiles of colleagues there, right? You've got client-facing colleagues, you have folks that are building capabilities that then serve offices all around the world. That's a really interesting mix. How do you think about attracting sort of less traditional profiles? Because I would imagine that it sounds like that's such a goal for Manila, to have a thriving, diverse community. How do you think about attracting and being a welcoming place for lots of different kinds of people?
No, that's what's probably one of the most the question I get asked most these days. And it is like both of you know, it's an evolving perspective, right, on talent and attraction. And to start, I would say, I was just reading about the firm as well, and look, I would like to say that McKinsey has been at the forefront of talent initiatives for a long time now. It is the core of what we do in our value proposition, so we need to get it right. And I believe we were the first to hire MBAs back when everybody was hiring people who would work experience. We are typically the ones that open offices in new locations first, right? Because we truly believe talent is anywhere, and being exceptional or distinctive doesn't come with a particular geography or criteria,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's something that again, we're in Manila, we are starting to look at profiles. I think when I joined, frankly, we were hiring, and which was 10 years ago, we were hiring from a couple of universities, and only one or two courses in those universities, and that was it. That was our consulting.
Even more narrow.
hiring.
Yep.
Correct. That's obviously quite different now, and we're looking at profiles of individuals to expand our universe of candidates, which includes looking at different geographies, the key cities, but also beyond, looking at different educational backgrounds, right? Whether you have a bachelor's degree, or some, maybe it's like a technical or vocational degree, or advanced degrees, and sector or functional experience, right? So there's no real clear formula here, but we're trying to develop a perspective in terms of, look, what are the characteristics of people that do well at McKinsey? And again, if we want to continue to be successful, I think getting the talent equation right is step number one. So I do spend a lot of time, as you both know, trying to figure it out and trying to invest in that part of our firm objective.
I love that, John. I do. Again, we have talked about this. We had a couple sessions go around our assessment process, because I think that's one of the places that creates the most anxiety for people. And one of the things that we really talked about was, we're not looking for a particular profile or pedigree. We're looking for raw capabilities, intrinsics, curiosity, right? Drive to make a difference. Those are the sort of intrinsic capabilities that we look for. So I love that you underscore that's not just a Manila thing, that's a firm-wide thing, that we are all committed to that.
Yeah, and that makes it also always so special when you bring together teams from different offices. And I think, John, you mentioned at the beginning, right, that you work a lot in the Philippines, but that some of your work also carries you across Asia. And no matter where you go, you put people together from very different offices, and still they are able to work well together in the team room, because they share those common traits that you mentioned, Blair.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
I just on this, sorry, just
Yeah.
one anecdote I remember, because I had this client, and they had I think it was my first year at McKinsey at the time, but we were going around 6 different countries on a large scale program. And what I remember was, look, you step into the team room, and you're working with people that you've met for the first time. Within 5 minutes,
yeah,
all of you are working together as if you'd worked together for months,
I know.
right? Because the
so true.
culture and the way we do it is so similar, which is just I think the magic of the firm.
I agree.
So
We've all
true.
had those moments. We've all had
Yeah.
those moments where you think, clients often ask us, in fact, how long have you guys been working together? And you're like, well, about a day and a half. It's true.
Yeah, and that's
true.
the great thing about the global nature of our firm. And sometimes we hear candidates, they they think a global firm means that they could be, sent on a project or staffed on a project somewhere, tomorrow, and they might be needing to travel to far away places, next week. And that's not the case. Your first area of staffing is of course always your home office and the practice or the area that you're interested in, but there is the opportunity to work beyond that. And that's the great thing about our firm. Like you both just said, that then there's just so much that we have in common, no matter which office you're in, that just works really well and really seamlessly. And talking about offices, one question that we also get asked a lot is, where should I apply to? And John, it sounded like it was very clear for you from the beginning that you wanted to go and stay in the Philippines and make a difference in your home country. But how should candidates think about the office choice and choosing, where they want to apply to? Do you have any advice for
Yeah.
them?
No, I think there's certain, you could say, practicalities to keep in mind, of course. Local language, I mean, your ability to communicate and be effective, which is fundamental, dictates a lot of what you can and can't do in a lot of offices. Another one, of course, is the type of work in that economy or a group of economies that you'll be working in, right? So some are more public sector heavy, i.e. the Middle East, versus others. If you work in New York or London, a lot of financial services companies. So there are certain, you could say, flavors of the work that you could expect in different offices. And of course, your network family and friends in that location. Again, we travel a lot, so being in one place consistently for a certain amount of time is a premium, and that should be factored into your decision, right? In the end, I'd say that, look, it boils down to the type of experience you want to have at the firm. And some people are here to experience the world. Some people are here to solve problems and work in their home countries, and for each to his or her own, right? And it's not like as if I am based in the Philippines. I have been for the past 10 years, but I travel even now in my role at least once a month, once a week, a month outside. And that's everywhere, both for clients and internal meetings as well, right? So you do have the ability to transfer short-term, long-term to other offices, and we have actually really, really cool programs that allow for that in our firm. So I think there's office choice, but there's also how you want to operate and work at the firm.
That's very
I love
true.
that.
Yeah,
I love that.
I mean, I think it's important when you join McKinsey and get used to the consulting profession, get used to our firm, that you join in an area where you feel comfortable with at least the language or the business context, and then use that as an ability to then go abroad, either for projects or for a more formal mobility program. There's actually, just as we speak right now, the phase of one of our major mobility programs, where we sent a large number of our engagement leaders, our engagement managers and team leaders abroad to other offices. So that matching process is working as we
Happening now.
speak. But a lot of it is also informal or less, programmatic through, like you said, John, for meetings, for client work, for just individual client engagement workshops or longer term client projects. So there's a lot of opportunity for that, for sure. If people are excited about, and then others who are really keen to build a local platform and a local client footprint, which is also something that's possible.
And I don't think you have to know necessarily coming in the door what camp you fall into. I think we could all share stories of how we've had unexpected twists and turns in our own professional careers, not just from a content perspective, but geography, in terms of communities that we've built. I mean, Marie and I often say one of our favorite aspects of our job is we have a truly global team. We've got a little bit, I guess now we have a little bit of a concentration in London. We were just saying we somehow, many of our direct leadership team now sits in London, but we're truly scattered all around the world. And that is one of our favorite aspects. We were together, part of us were together in Amsterdam last week. And it has been an ongoing gift, I think, as we've built both a really intensive local communities, but then global communities as well, which can be just as tight and just as important as the ones that are within your own office four walls.
Yeah. And we have a lot of that community celebrations through these milestone events, of course, like you were celebrating your 25th anniversary in the Philippines this year in Amsterdam, we celebrated this summer 60 years in the Netherlands. And as a firm, next year, we will start the celebration for 100-year anniversary, which will kick off at the end of next year, which is, of course, a super exciting milestone for our firm overall.
It sure is. In fact, Marie and I at one point may or may not have made a video about turning 100 where we dressed up as old ladies. Maybe as a treat someday we'll post that in the McKinsey Unpacked archives.
Would love
For
to
those
see
who
it.
really stick to the end and will listen.
There.
Yeah, exactly. Marie doesn't love that thread at all. Well, we're getting close to time, John. We'd love to wrap up with our snack for the road, which again is a little bit. We're so lucky to have some time with you and your experience here at the firm. We love giving all of our friends who've joined us today a little bit of advice. And so, as you think about pivoting, we're amazingly coming up at the end of the calendar year, which is shocking to us.
Already, I know.
It will go like that.
Very.
And we will pivot from, as Marie and I talked about at the beginning, sort of reflecting on our past year with our performance reviews. We really then pivot towards the very end of the year and the beginning of the next year to what's ahead. So John, how do you think about making that pivot? What's some advice you have for people about that sort of annual exercise of thinking about pausing to reflect on what you want to achieve and what's ahead for you? How do you manage that yourself?
Yeah, I think great question again, Blair. So a few things for me. Number one is, at McKinsey, you have such a privileged network of mentors and sponsors, which you probably take for granted while you're at the firm. I may have maintained those even if they have left. And so I keep in touch with them. And when I travel, I try to meet with them at least once a year, right? A few of them. And connecting with them just helps you reset and take stock of, from their vantage point, those who have left and what was important and just giving me advice on priorities and what to do, I think is very helpful. I think the second thing also is I like to take the time, just my personal preference. I like to take the time at the end of the year to just reset, think about what has gone well, what am I thankful for, what could I do differently to improve the following year, and I set that as I write myself a note, and then I keep it with me in my bag, and I read it every so often, right? Every few months, I look at it and say, look, am I on track?
What a good idea.
That's a great idea.
That's a great
and
idea.
Look, some years are I fall flat.
You're more
Some years
attractive.
Exactly.
some years you've exceeded expectations, right? So it just helps you calibrate also what is possible in a year. So those are the two things I do.
I love that. It's also just a reminder about being intentional about things. And I heard you saying it twice, right? Intentional about the relationships that you've built with mentors and sponsors and keeping in touch with them, even if they've left your immediate circle of influence. Yeah. And in fact, we talked about the alumni before already, but we have a strong network and we definitely foster still the community of our alums, but being intentional about the relationships and then also being intentional about thinking through, like you said, reflecting on the year past, but then also what are the goals that you have as you go ahead. So I think that's great advice and a great reminder, which is kind of straightforward and simple, but I have to admit,
no, I love it.
I don't do that often enough.
And I think it's actually interesting. The word intentional is a theme as we've talked about community throughout this discussion. I think intentional is actually sort of a great way to summarize that communities at McKinsey are here for the making and the taking, but you do need to be intentional about them. And we get that question a lot, John. I'm sure you do as well.
And you're part of it, right? You are so it.
Big. Exactly.
But you are the community. You said that.
You are the community. That's
John,
right.
It's like there's not a firm or a culture or a community. It's all of us contribute to it. And if we are not there, not showing up, not being intentional about it, we don't have the community.
That's right. That's right. Which I love. And again, I think we are a place that there will not always be a roadmap to what your communities are going to look like. And that's a gift. I think we've all loved that we've gotten to build our own communities in ways that are meaningful to us. And it certainly makes what is on paper a big firm feel a whole lot smaller because of these communities that are so meaningful to all of us. So John, thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Congratulations again. on the 25th anniversary. And we hope you'll come back again. And maybe what we could do, John, you could write a note about this unpacked session, and then we'll have you back in a year and we'll see if anything that you said about us actually came true.
Well, we will
Amazing.
be
Let's
back.
do it.
Yeah, perfect. And before we see John back, Blair and I will be back in early December
True.
for the next
We will.
episode of our Unpacked session. And if you like this format, do check out our website. We will share after the session the link to a website where you can see all the previous sessions as well. So there are 4 others that you can listen to if you enjoyed looking into the McKinsey Suit Pack and unpacking some of the.
That's right. That's right. And
Oh,
keep
thank
giving
you.
us feedback. These are sessions that we, as John said, the single most important thing we do as a firm is attract the next generation of talent, because that's what fuels us. That's what we do. And so please always give us feedback on ways these sessions can be even more impactful and interesting. But John, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Bye.
It's been great. Appreciate
Okay.
the
See you
opportunity.
soon.
Bye.
Bye, friends.